Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be replacing the U-joints on my 02 F-150, which, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure is the same 98 through 03. Pretty certain of that. Y'all hang tight. We're going to get this thing all in your nose hairs, and we'll walk you through this thing. Welcome to this episode in the garage. Now remember, when you undo these bolts out of your U-joint at your rear end, the transmission is no longer attached to the rear end mechanically, so there is a chance that it will roll. So make sure that you chock your wheels, put your emergency brake on, whatever you need to do. Last thing you want to do is try to get out from under a vehicle that's trying its best to run you over, and then get in that vehicle and try to stop it. One thing for that. All right, we got all four of our bolts out. Now, most of the time these rear ends are or the drive shaft is usually pretty stuck to that pinion faceplate. So give it a love tap. And it should come out. Alright, now when you pull this drive shaft, the yoke out of the transmission, be prepared for a little bit of fluid. So I have got the a pan up under there, and so we'll move up front and see about getting that out. Let's get our pan over here. Now when you pull this out, don't go beating and banging around on that yoke. You don't want to nick it and scratch it, because when it comes to reinstalling it, those nicks may cut your tail shaft seal and cause you a leak down the road, so you don't want that. So we'll try to manage this yoke so that we don't beat the crap out of it unnecessarily. All right. And we're ready for step 9. All right, here's the problem we were having. If you can see that, Our U-joint is completely shot. So while we're in here, we're going to go ahead and check out the splines inside our yoke at the other end. And we're going to go ahead and replace the front U-joint as well. Might as well. You've got it all out in your teeth. So let's get this thing set up, and we'll commence to pounding these things out. First thing I usually do, I fool with the movable side first because it's the most aggravating. First thing you do is get your clips out. A lot of times you'll go to get these things out and they're already broke. But these came on out. Next, what you want to do is, you've got some room, so we're going to take a punch and knock that back the other way as far as we can. Now this stuff will be your friend, so go get you some penetrating oil. You're going to need it. Go ahead and soak everything down. Now what we want to do not damage that outer rim. That's where your clip goes. So your clip groove needs to be nice and clean so that you can put those new clips in there. Haven't moved yet. Now this might take 10 minutes and it might take an hour. All right, good deal. Now that we got the cap flush with the other end, now what we need to do is hang that end out over the edge. It would be better if I had an anvil. I don't know that this piece of wood is going to work, but we got it to move, so let's give it a shot. And what you want to do is get that cap all the way out. So we got a little bit more to go. All right, see there? So let's try and get this cap off of here. All right, now we got to go back the other way. All right, now we should be able to get this thing off here, just like so. Set that aside. You're done with that side. All right, let's get this clip out. This is, to me, for the most part, this is the easier side because it's actually connected to the drive shaft. One side is coming loose, the other side is just hanging out in there. So what we'll do is we'll get it with a screwdriver and fling it all the way across the garage. We'll need that where we're going. Now, do the same thing to this. got her flush. Now look there. Every one of the needle bearings are gone. Nothing came out here in the floor. Nothing's down. Nothing stuck to the pin. That's where all our movement come from. You can see the seal is completely gone and the side of it's busted out. That's where all our movement came from. What I might do is just try to tap that back down in there. Go the other way with it. See if we can pull that out. There's what's left of our seal. All right, now what you want to do after you get your parts, get you some Scotch-Brite or something to, you want to clean out the inside of these, and also go around the inside of your ring groove and make sure it's nice and clean. That way reassembly is going to go a whole lot easier. The cleaner all that stuff is. So I'll get that cleaned up and I'll bring you back. Alright, this is why it's so important to clean your groove out for your ring. Because that's what seats your ring up above your cap and keeps from slinging your cap out. So you want to make sure you get every bit of that stuff out. Any time that you spend cleaning during this stage is going to pay dividends when it comes to reassembling, because I got to be honest with you, reassembly is not the funnest thing in the world, especially if you don't have a press. All right, now usually what I do when I get these things ready to go back together is I usually take, there's just enough grease in these things to hold the pins where they're supposed to be. So I usually come put some extra grease in there just to hold those pins in place. Now you can't put a whole lot of grease in here because it'll want to hydrolock on you and you won't be able to get the cap on. So don't just go crazy on the grease. Now, if you've got a greasable joint, take that into consideration when you put this thing in. Locate it where you'll be able to get to it, to grease it. Set that down in there. Grab you a cap. Grab you another cap. Now what you want to do is move these so you don't scatter them. You want to knock that down far enough to get a ring in. And when you buy your U-joints, try try to buy a set that comes with new locking rings. Like I said earlier in the video, those things are known for breaking, corrosion, vibration, just normal wear and tear. But yeah, try to get one that's got new rings in it. All right. Now notice how easy that turns. That's one of the reasons you want to clean that, is so that that sort of ensures that that thing went in the groove. So now we want to take this side and we want to knock it down and put the ring in it. See if that's down far enough. Now I can tell by how much of that ring is sticking out, it's not down in the groove. So let's make sure it's all the way in that groove. There we go. Alright, now everything should be tightened up. You should not be able to turn that ring like you did a second ago. Give that a smack. Same thing here. You just want to knock it down far enough to get your ring in. A little too far, but we'll knock it back the other way here momentarily. Now let's slap this one around like an ex-wife and get it in the right place. One more. That's why it's so important to clean those grooves out. All right, I'm gonna switch around, do this other side, and I'll bring you back when we're ready to put her in. Drive shaft back in the transmission. Now, it's not really important where it's turned when you put it in the transmission. If your bolt holes back here don't line up, just get in, put the vehicle in neutral, make sure your wheels are chalked, and just turn it until they line up. Put your bolts in. Now on this drive shaft, and probably a lot more like it, don't just go tightening up one bolt, because in the center of that pinion there's a pin that sticks out, and on the end of this section of the drive shaft there is a dimple. There's a lineup pin. It's not really a pin, it's big, but you want to make sure that that lines up, that centers and locates your drive shaft in line with your pinion, because there could be play in the bolt holes that will allow this to not be completely centered. So what you want to do is just diagonally tighten the bolts up and make sure that the face of this part of your U-joint housing and the face of the pinion plate the gap is completely closed. That'll let you know you got it good and lined up. Once that gap is closed, you can go ahead and start tightening everything up. Now is also a good time to just take a peek around under your vehicle and make sure nothing ignorant's going on. I mean, really, how often are you under your daily driver? If you're anything like me, only when something breaks. It's also a good time while you got your drive shaft out all in your teeth to check, make sure you don't have any cracks around any of your housings. Make sure you don't have any cracks around your welds. Make sure if you have the stick-on weights, that one of your weights on your drive shaft hadn't slung off where they balanced it. Just take a peek. I noticed that neither my transmission tail shaft seal nor my pinion seal are leaking, so that is good news. There's no leaks around the seals at the end of the axle housings, so that's good news. I don't have a lot of wet oil dripping down from anything back here, so that means that I don't have any major oil leaks that the wind is slinging rearward as I'm going down the road, so that's a good thing. Just take a general peek. So about six years ago or so, me and my wife were heading back north from Chattanooga on 75, and we just topped White Oak Mountain running interstate speed, and in that truck that I'm working on right now. And as soon as I topped the mountain, let off the gas, and instantly heard an explosion. I mean, it rattled that whole truck. And I knew that I was in need of tires, so I assumed that blew a tire. So pulled over on the side of the road real quick. We're running 70, 75, I guess. And got out of the truck and just fully expected to find a flat tire. So looked on the driver's side, didn't see anything, walked around the front of the truck, looked down, just hordes of transmission fluid pouring out from under the front of the truck. The road was sort of tilted down, so it was just running down. So I looked up, told my wife to go ahead and call AAA. There wasn't no sense in looking any farther. So she got on the phone. I kneeled down and on her side of the truck and looked up under the truck, and I kid you not, I could see the traffic going by through the case of my transmission. What had happened was the front U-joint at the transmission came loose, came apart, and at that speed, it came apart with such force that it broke the transmission mount going from one side of the frame to the other and split the entire transmission case in half. When you're fooling with driveline parts, CV axles, CV joints, four-wheel drive axles, drive shafts, U-joints, all that stuff is spinning extremely fast. So depending on what your gear ratio, it could be spinning 3, 4, 5 times faster than your RPM. So if you're at, 2,200 RPMs at 75 miles an hour, that drive shaft is turning upwards of 65 to 7,000 RPMs. So when you have something come apart turning that fast, it is absolutely devastating, the damage it can do. Luckily, it came apart and did not lock up the rear end. It didn't dig into the asphalt. It didn't sling out from under the truck. It could have been absolutely deadly, not for just us, but those around me on the interstate. So, sort of funny now that it's several years later. It was absolutely not funny when it happened. So when you're fooling with those that type of stuff, just keep in mind, make sure that you know what you're doing, and make sure that you're not halfway doing anything, skipping any steps, cutting any corners, because other people on the road other than just yourself, and there's people in your vehicle that you really care about. So don't let something stupid you did do something that can change your life from here on out. But that's going to do it for now. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the share notification, hit the bell notification, leave a comment. Love reading comments. Till next time, y'all go do some work.